here I am at Exosphere in Chile. I'm here with Luke Crowley. He's been talking about libertarian ideas, Austrian economics, and what they have going on here is just fabulous. And I asked him if he would just share a little bit of his experience, a little bit of his philosophy, a little bit of what he's seeing here and what he's learning. It's kind of like a reset for those of us who are truly escape artists. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a little bit about the process that got you to come here to Exosphere and the events in your life that made you feel like you needed something like this?
Well, the process, it was actually like a 5-year or 6-year process. And first you go through becoming aware of the reality of what's going on in the U.S. and kind of flipping out over learning about central banking and the government, and then you kind of go from there, and
the doom and gloom.
You kind of go from there, and then I got involved with prepping and all this other stuff, and wanted to have a bunker, actually thought about having a bunker and all this types of stuff. And after that, read a lot of books on kind of like self-help type books, and really learning how to get over the emotional, like the fear of it all. But I said, you know what can I actually do, like, to make a real change? Because I feel like the internet is just one big like, just imagine like one big party where everyone's talking and complaining about their life, but no one actually does anything, and they go on Facebook or they go on Twitter or whatever, and they post someone else's video or someone else's article, and they're like, or a story from some newspaper, and they're like, look what I found. I'm taking action and I'm showing you how bad it is, or I'm showing you this or that or whatever, but they're not actually doing anything in their life. So I really needed to take action, and that's when I started looking at various sites, and ultimately I found Exosphere through someone I met like you on the internet. And that's where the internet and these chat rooms or any groups you belong to really actually have value. That you meet like-minded people that are actually doing something or want to take real action, and you could actually talk with them and lean on them for support or ask them for advice. That's where it's like very, very valuable. And you could be all around the world, which is like incredible. So I met someone, Luke Blackburn, he's part of the Exosphere team here, and that led me to say, all right, well, these guys are actually getting people together that are like-minded, and they're learning skills to help teach people to develop their own business, which ultimately you got to get into. Because coming to a foreign country, going to work for someone would be very challenging. And also you're limited then again, because you got to stay in that country. And who knows if you want to stay in that country.
Are you just going from one shell to another shell?
Yeah. If you believe in personal liberty and self, taking like responsibility for yourself, it's kind of hard to have that mindset and actually say, well, I want a job somewhere. I mean, ultimately, those ideas are going to conflict, right? Because, and it's not easy, like, to come down to a foreign country. Like, my wife is Spanish. She speaks Spanish. So I had basically, I had I had an interpreter, which really took the pressure off, where other people maybe wouldn't have. But I've talked with other people that came down, and listen, when you have to do it, I almost feel like it's a bit of a crutch for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a nice crutch, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you know, you go out and then
she does all the talking.
sometimes, yeah. So you it's kind of good to be thrown to the lions, kind of say, and then you got to deal with the situation when it comes up, you know. So learning Spanish is like is key ultimately, and or any other language you want to learn. But the thing is, like I see, is like actually having practical skills. These things are all learned by connecting with other people. The key to leaving the U.S. or anything else that you want to do, ultimately you got to hook up with other people that are going to help you do this, and at least give you some advice, like, all right, this is how it really is here. Or I was in the supermarket the other day, and the guy heard us speaking English, and he came over to me, and he was a chiropractor, and he's been here 15 years. And he came over and he's like, oh, I got to tell you about Chile. So just the fact that you're obviously a foreigner, and you're obviously a foreigner, like I am obviously a foreigner here, you will have other people wanting to help you. And especially if you come off in a way that you are asking for people to get some advice out of people, and people are just bending over backwards to give you that help. So that's a really great thing that I found, that there are all these networks that do exist.
Right.
You know, so
we were talking earlier, and this is one of the things that it's easy for us, wherever we are, to fall into, is you romanticize the idea of someplace else. You get this vision, you see the postcards, you read what people are saying to promote it, or what have you. So you get these preconceptions that things are going to be a certain way. And you were sharing as you journeyed here that there were times when those bubbles were kind of popping. Sure. You were having to reevaluate, you were having to think through why you were doing what you were doing. Share with us that experience and where you are now in regard to that.
Well, I traveled to Mexico, and I went to earlier this year in January. I was in Mexico. I went to Costa Rica, Panama, and now I'm in Chile ultimately. And everywhere you go, before I actually started traveling, I thought once I get there, I'll figure out, like, my problems will be easily solved.
This is
right?
the answer, yeah.
Yeah, I just got to get there. I'm going to meet some people, and then they're going to tell me some, and this happened in the United States too. I went to some events, and I thought, oh, I just got to go there, and I'm going to find out all the information, and life is going to be great after that. But ultimately you realize that, and still going to meet people is, I 100% recommend it. Mm-hmm. You go to where people that interest you are, and you meet them, and it opens your eyes in different ways that you and leads you down different roads that really benefit you. But ultimately you realize, like, it's you that has to make the changes and learn the new skills and take responsibility for yourself. And there's no, like, you know, white knight somewhere that's going to come to your rescue. You know, you're not going to go to some magical land of libertarianville, whatever you want to call it, and everything's going to be fine, and, you know, the government will never come get you because it's impossible. You know, these ideas are completely false. So to me, you have to be open-minded, and you have to start looking inward rather than outward. And when you start to do that, and again, it's not easy, but, you know, one person said here, anything worthwhile is never easy. Anything worth doing is never easy. So if you want to hit, like, the, you know, the reset button on your life, no matter what reason. You're gonna have some challenges you gotta get over, but I look at it like this: I have no choice, so I can't go back to the old way of thinking that I had. It's mentally impossible, and I can't.
Undesirable.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't, because I can't unlearn what I know. So it's like, you know, whatever you want to call it, the rabbit hole or whatever. You know, once you have a mental shift, like, and I'm not talking about you're like dabbling in it. Once you really, your mind shifts from one, mindset to another, your choices become limited in what you're willing to put up with, or willing to deal with. And like, I can't work, you know, I used to be a union electrician in New York City. I can't, and I had to call the union recently because I'm leaving, going through the process. I can't even deal with talking to the people on the phone. You know, it's like the Communist Party headquarters. You know, so, and you have to get to a certain point, I think, wherever you are. If you're in the U.S. or anywhere else, you have to be like single-minded in this pursuit of, I want to make a change, and you have to do whatever you have to do. And even at this point right now, I don't have the answer. All I know is I have to be on this path. It's like, I know, it's a good analogy. I know this road leads to where I want to go, but I don't know where it. I haven't been there yet, right? And I might get up there, and there might be 3 other roads that I didn't know about. You know?
You don't know until you get there, though, and you can't get there without being on this one.
But I know I have to go.
Right.
So I have no choice in this.
And there is no panacea.
No.
It's not like there's this magic spell. There's this formula that says, okay, if everybody does this, everyone's going to be successful.
No.
But there is this pursuit of success. It's hard for us often to grab a hold of, because we're programmed. We're programmed to respond a certain way within a certain society and settle for the status quo around us, and that's success.
Sure.
And then you learn, like you said, and then you start thinking outside that box, and then that box is no longer comfortable. And so here you are, you're pursuing that. And this is a big step along the way here at Exosphere, where your mind is being challenged in ways that are uncomfortable.
Sure.
Where you're trying to strip away some of the programming that still remains and replace it with thoughts that are freer, if you might, or promote your pursuits better. You had voiced earlier that that's been a really hard transition for you since you've been here. What do you mean by that? What's hard about it that people might understand?
Well, I think there's a certain kind of idea in the liberty movement that once you start waking up to certain ideas, that now you have some sort of answer that other people maybe don't, because you're aware of certain things. So it's almost like I'm not going to say a superiority, it's too strong of a word, but it's along those lines. Mm-hmm. And it makes you think like, well, I know what's going on, so I'll be fine, and you know, as long as I'm around like-minded people, we'll figure it out. But the reality of it is that you have all these limiting beliefs that you don't even realize you have. And I realized every step of the way in this process in Exosphere, right, I was close-minded to it. Every book, every process that, you know, they told me to come and do before I got here, I was like, I don't need that. You know, it's like, what is this? You know, but I got through it. Like, I pushed myself through the books, I pushed myself through everything, and every time I did it, I was like, wow, this is fantastic. But then still, the next book would come, and I'd be like, I'd listen to it and it'd be a little bit above, say, what I considered my, you know, intellect level. It might be books like I normally wouldn't pick up on my own. And I would be like, oh, this freaking language or these ideas, they're too big for me. You know, I'm a construction guy. Just give me something, like give me some practical skills that I can just go do something. But this is when you start to realize, like, I'm fighting through like my own shortcomings. And then once you push through it, it's actually really beneficial, because now you realize, like, wow, I didn't realize I still had all these limiting beliefs that I still have to deal with. I thought I was enlightened.
Right.
I thought I was open-minded. So it's really beneficial to come in to deal with this process, which you'll have to deal with either way. If you leave the U.S. or you start a new life, you're going to face challenges that you didn't expect. Right. And you're going to have to push through new ideas and new situations, and that's what I had to do here. It was and it wasn't easy, and I'm sure there's many more to come. I mean, but I thought I was open-minded before. Now I'm starting to see the real definition of that, what open-mindedness really means, and is giving yourself over to the process and realizing that it's okay if you don't know what to do. But if you're here with people you trust, that's why like-minded people are, that is absolutely key. If you don't have like-minded people in your life, you're really missing out. You know, so that's pretty much what I had to do on that area.
Now, showing up here, and you meet a bunch of people who have similar mindsets, generally a libertarian / Austrian bent, if not precisely. Or am I mistaken? Is that?
Yeah, it's actually not true.
Oh, it's not. Okay, well, enlighten us.
He, well, it's probably done on purpose, but my understanding was like a bunch of anarchist libertarians were going to be here, but actually a lot of people from South America are here with ideas of, with different ideas, which is actually quite beneficial, because if we were just all the same, we would just all be talking our normal thing. And I mean, I've had this experience here where anarchist libertarians, and it's just like the same loop, right? And there's no challenge. It's like, oh, I agree, I agree, I agree, I agree. Oh, by the way, oh yes, I agree, I agree, I agree, I agree, I agree.
Right on.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we're so great, we're so great. And that's nice for a while, but ultimately you say, when you have someone says, wait a minute, no, I don't agree. I don't agree. And I believe it's this way, and they really believe, right? It's not like they're just messing with you. So this helped me realize, like, different perspectives are good, and helping them realize maybe your point of view is also part of the process here. So we had different types of people politically. The mindsets are different, whether it be in business, politics, religious views, whatever. But we all came here into the same mindset of, we want to learn something new, and we want to learn a new way, we want to have a different life, and we're all open-minded on that level, and we all want to work together, and we all have mutual respect. And it doesn't mean that everything flows all the time, like really easy, but that's the point, you see. Because when you're starting a business, where you're starting a new life, you want to you're going to run into people that don't agree with you. So, and what are you going to do at that point? You're going to start yelling at them and berating them, or
that always fixes it.
Yeah, I mean, I see this all the time, and there's a lot of younger people here that want to be right about whatever, and they go back and forth. You know, I'm right. No, you're wrong. I'm right. This type of thing. So this is actually a great thing, because you're not always going to deal with people that share your views. In fact, most people don't share your views. and you need to know how to work with these people. You're not always going to be around someone that agrees with you. Even amongst libertarians, anarchists, whatever, freedom lovers, you will disagree.
Right, right.
You know?
So this is more of an eclectic group.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Which I was on the roof here, and I'm like, someone said something, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I started asking questions, and I'm like, who let you people in?
The door didn't do it very good.
I said, wait a minute, there's something wrong with the application or the filtering process. But no, that was the point. That was the whole point. Because it is ultimately an entrepreneurial program.
Right.
It's not a libertarian anarchist, like, you know, love fest. You know, it's an entrepreneurial program, and it's a boot camp. So it is a lot of mental boot camp activities going on. It's not, you know, it's not like you're scaling up a wall and rappelling off the roof.
You're doing it mentally.
Mental gymnastics is a very good description of this program.
Good. Now you're learning some new skills too.
Yes.
Some, I mean, obviously you're learning new thinking skills.
Yep.
But you said something about learning how to program and taking you completely out of your comfort zone in regard to your work history and knowledge.
Sure. Like, I'm an electrician. Well, I did electrical work. You got to stop saying I am. That's another thing. Because I am not that, whatever. But anyway, I did electrical work, and I've been in construction most of my life, hands-on. And that's how I learn, you know. And one of the exercises here is building an application for a smartphone, and it had a lot to do with coding, which I didn't even know existed. I literally did not know how things worked. So when you know, Skinner said, okay, first he had us do some projects, and then he said, all right, well, you're gonna go build this now. I'm like, who's gonna build it? I said, I'm not gonna build it. So anyway, yeah, to get past the process of not knowing how to do things and leaning on other people, right? And letting go of that fear of failure and pushing through that really helped me to, because it's okay, listen, you're not going to know everything. You're not going to know everything, right? And I'm like really like wound tight on this area, like, oh, I have to be good at everything. You're not going to be good at everything, but you can put a big effort into whatever you're doing. And I learned kind of slow in this area. Like, I'm a slow reader, and I'm slow with the more intellectual stuff, right? And that's okay. I have to say, okay, this is how I do it, right? And once you get over, so I had a really hard time. I had to kind of take a time out. I had to like leave the building, go back to my apartment, kind of get my head together. But I can't, you know, you come back and you can't quit. Like, I don't have a choice, so I'm not gonna quit. And ultimately, it's like you win all these little battles, and then that gives you more confidence when another problem comes along. Like, oh, I remember when I had a hard time with that one thing I had to learn, but I got through it. So that gives you the power to get through something else. That mental process.
Right.
Yeah.
By teaching yourself to overcome things.
Right.
Yeah. Now, you're in week. What week is this? 3?
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
out of 12 weeks. So you're
that scares me.
you're a quarter of the way through, and you've already been for a ride, huh?
Yeah.
So you're looking forward to learning more as you continue the process here over the next 9 weeks. And your wife. Now, what's the next step? What do you do after you go through a boot camp like this?
Well, for me, I've dedicated this year And that's another thing, like, well, how do you do that? I have savings, obviously, that support me financially, that I saved up. A lot of people ask, well, what are you doing for money? Well, I have savings, but I'm going all in on this process, and I've dedicated this year to learning as many skills as I can, and meeting as many people as I can. And then we're gonna take, if an opportunity comes at any point, I'm gonna go for it. I don't know what that opportunity will be yet, but the general goal right now is we were going to go to a few places and see if we wanted to live there. And I've been in Chile, and I could live here. It's a beautiful place, and no place is perfect.
Chile is not perfect.
I was in New
York. Don't get the idea that Chile is perfect.
No. First of all, there's no perfect place. And what is perfection anyway?
Right.
It's all a perception, but there are things that are absolutely great here. And but 3 weeks, that's a tough question to answer because we have 9 weeks. And if you've known what mentally has been going on for 3 weeks, I mean, I can't even imagine another 9 weeks. So, but
get through the day.
Yeah. So right now it's kind of a lull in the storm because we're finishing up the project, but the next step. But one of the things we started with, I got in touch with my mentor, which they assign people to mentors that are actually real entrepreneurs. Now this was like absolutely fantastic to actually talk to a fellow, I'll call him like a fellow brother, because that's what I feel like when I meet, and it's instantaneous. When I meet a like-minded person, like liberty lover, I feel like that we're family, and that's what I felt like with this person, instantaneously. It's bizarre. Starts talking about Ayn Rand and how he integrates that philosophy into his entrepreneurial, into his businesses, and how everything is about freedom. And I was just like, I was just jumping out of my skin, right? Because that's another thing, is like, it is really good mentally to be around like-minded people that are gonna teach you practical skills and are actually doing something, not just talking or typing on the internet. I mean, that stuff has its place because it leads you down the road, but when you get to a certain point, I just feel like it's pessimism porn. You know that saying.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I found this story, I found that story, and then it's like, it just never ends. And you just get into this, drudge report loop.
Right. What's anybody doing about it? Who's producing something here that could be involved?
The only, I think it was Josh Tolley. I saw an interview of him. He's an entrepreneur, he does a radio show. He brought up the fact that if you are a libertarian or anarchist, you have to be an entrepreneur. And I've heard this other places too, that if you believe in freedom and liberty, you can't be saying, well, I'm going to go get a job at Goldman Sachs or something, or I'm going to have a job here or a job there.
Unless it's a stepping stone.
Yeah, if it's a stepping stone.
Building something for your dream.
Sure. But like, everybody has their own style how they're going to get things done.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I kind of got off track. I got off my I got off my train of thought.
When Skinner was talking earlier, they had a group. They're going through a book. What's the book again?
Self-Reliance by Emerson.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're going through that, and Skinner was giving a discussion on it. Just whatever the reading assignment was, I wasn't aware of all of that. But he was sharing about a lot of what you're talking about right now.
Sure.
How we think, how we need to be reprogrammed, how there's these cycles in the way we think. And I'm with you. I kind of lost my train of thought here too.
That's all right. We gotta cut. You gotta cut this out.
I totally had it all narrowed down, and I have no clue where I was going.
That's good. That's good.
And edit features are nice.
When you do these interviews, you should leave this in, by the way, because when you do these interviews, it's nice that it's not so like clean, and then other people are like, you know, wow, they're like real people. It's not like a news crew or something.
This is not a professional studio. We're
Yes,
sitting.
yes.
It's a beautiful spot. This is a great spot.
Yeah.
But it's just us, a couple knuckleheads trying to be escape artists. And we're trying to pursue not the American dream. That's an old fairy tale that doesn't really exist anymore. This is more pursuing the dream of your heart, pursuing true freedom.
Sure.
Trying to build freedom within your own life, but that isn't related necessarily to a place. It's related to how you live, what you do with your life. And as you shared, the people around you, it's such a huge deal. Are the people around us actually producing, or are they just sucking the life out of us? Are they holding us back? Are they telling us you can't do things that way? I mean,
that's big right there.
Everybody around you.
We could have another interview on
Oh,
that.
I know. Everybody around you, your family.
Yep.
If you go to a church, the people in your church. If you're in a school, the people in your school. All of your friends. You say, you know what? I'm quitting my job. I'm going to go to South America. I'm going to go to a boot camp. I'm going to learn how to think differently, even more than I do now. And you guys already think that I'm goofy.
Yeah.
And they just look at you and go, "You got all this going for you, man. What are you thinking?"
Yeah. Like I was, you know, working as an electrician at the World Trade Center, doing probably one of the biggest jobs that an electrician could be on.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a security system, which was pretty interesting. Making good money. Have a house. Had 3 cars. Always went out to dinner.
Oh man, you had it all. You had the American dream. You gave all that up for this.
The so-called American dream, like you said, is an illusion. And ultimately, with what's going on in the country, and you know what? I tell my wife this all the time. I says, even if everything was fine, there's no problems politically, right? Just imagine that. No problems. Everything is cool. What we're doing now still makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you're living life like you're following your passion and you're looking for something that is going to get you excited to get out of bed in the morning. Even though I don't know exactly what that is yet, I know I will find it. So when you're going along every day, and listen, if you're happy doing with what you do, it's fine. You don't have to keep looking and finding problems with your life.
Right.
But I wasn't.
Right.
I'm talking about everyone as an individual. But if you are looking for a new way of life, there's going to come a point where talking and watching videos and reading articles is not going to get it done. And you have to take action. And meeting like-minded people and learning practical skills and living in a spot you actually want to be in is just part of the puzzle.
Are you ringing?
Yeah. Gotta cut this.
that's part of the puzzle too.
You know, that's one thing too. You're always getting calls from somebody, and you're always getting all these messages on your cell phone down. When you're in Mexico, is like that too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's like constant, like just advertising messages.
Oh, yeah, I get those.
Yeah.
I can't read them. I don't know.
No, I know. I just erase everything.
What is that?
You can't leave messages. That's another thing. Like a little fun fact: don't leave messages for people in South America, because from what I see, you get all these messages, and you have to. Everyone just deletes their messages. They don't like listen to their messages. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Unless you actually read who it came from and then listen to it, but usually no.
What do you do with it in 35 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, I find like the the time on a video is it's tough. Like if you start getting, you know, they always say on YouTube like have 3 minutes or whatever, right? Because like the attention span of people is like so small. They're looking for these like quick little soundbite videos, like, you know. And you always see on YouTube also is like all these just BS titles of things, and they'll have like 5 million views. There'll be like this little dumb video of some nonsense, and I find like the longer videos are, if you got, first of all, there's no videos really putting out on this issue where it's actually giving you practical information. A lot of it I find is like a lot of fantasy talking going on. So there's a few guys doing some good work, but on YouTube in general, it's you kind of have to dig to find the gems, you know.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I've been trying to do with Frank and John up here is,
Yeah.
you know, we don't want to just try to give everybody this candy-coated picture of a country that's, you know, in a lot of ways it's like other countries, in a lot of ways it's distinct, in a lot of ways it's way better,
Sure.
a whole lot of ways it's better than a lot of countries. There's some things here that are tough.
Yeah.
You know, the bureaucracy here is just driving people nuts. People
Sure.
from America and from Europe and Australia with that mindset, you know, we have to deal with our bureaucratic processes and they bug us there. Here it's even more. It just takes longer to get something done.
Sure.
But what are you trading for that? What are you giving up? You know, or what do you, when you have to take that on, what are the benefits that you're getting from it? And actually, John just did an interesting blog entry on that. He had like a list of 50-something things that he doesn't have to deal with here that he had to deal with in the U.S. But there are a dozen or so that he has to deal with here. You know,
Sure.
like we talked about, part of the culture here. I was talking to Nicolo.
Yeah, Nicolo.
Nicolo.
You got to do the O.
Nicolo.
Like, Nicolo.
Nicolo. And it does have the little exit
yeah.
mark on the last O there.
Yeah.
Nicolo from Italy.
That's another interesting thing they're doing here is like every single aspect of this is still kind of an experiment. So you see them kind of asking for our feedback, and I see them like trying to make this whole experience better. I mean, it really is like a real entrepreneurial process, but you keep doing it.
Oh, you know, I met Luke through TDB on Facebook. That's
Yeah.
how I met him.
Yeah.
And Nicolo.
Yeah.
Get that right?
Nicolo Viviani.
Nicolo. Same with him. I had communicated with Carlos and Skinner a little bit in the past when I was working on AllAboutChile.com. I was first developing that.
Sure.
And a lot of that resonated. But when I came here and I saw the guys and we stood there and talked for a little bit and we were laughing and identifying with each other, the similar philosophical framework and stuff, it was
Sure.
just like instant
Yeah.
enjoying being around these guys. These are guys, you know, it's kind of funny because, well, you're a little bit younger than me, I think, but I'm standing there, I'm the old guy, you know,
Yeah.
it's like these guys are all 20-something, 30-something.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
But just, it's like they get it. Not only do they get it, they can teach me because
Sure.
you know I'm growing into my understanding of freedom. I'm growing into my understanding of how true free market should work and stuff like that. Even though, you know, again, you get into this idea that won't be realized, but still understanding freedom better is what makes us want to pursue these things. Makes us want to pursue living a freer life, whether that's here or in Colombia or in Brazil or Asia or wherever. And so, my point being, it was just awesome to sit and talk to these guys.
Sure.
It's just click. I really love what they're doing here at Exosphere.
The one thing that ties the entrepreneurial thing in with what people are trying to do is like you will have to change in the future, and you might be living in Colombia or Ecuador or Brazil or Peru, and you'd be like, you know what, it's not working out for me. And like in business, if you have a product where you're doing a service and you see something better, you have to change it. So there's this old kind of like always renewing yourself throughout life.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really a key, I find, to living a good life in general, is to constantly be learning, constantly be looking for better ideas to improve your life. So that is like truly vital. Just realizing that it's okay, you need to go out and start over and learn new things. It's going to be, it's really just about the journey. It's not in a process. It's not about like where, oh, I have to be here or I have to be there. It really is open-ended. I mean, to me, this is like a whole life philosophy shift that's going on. And the world is wide open with opportunity. So,
as we were talking down there, nobody at Exosphere knows what they want to be when they grow up. And it's not a bad place to be. And that used to bother me because I've always wanted to look around the next corner and look over the next hill, not content. Now, there's a certain aspect where you should be content with where you are because you are where you are, and you need to make the best of it. But there's another aspect to it where there's nothing wrong with wanting more, or wanting to experience something new, or wondering what's over the next hill, or around the next corner, or pursuing it. Not all of us are built the same. Some of us are more content to be in one spot for the rest of our lives, and we love it. Great. But not all of us are wired that way, and that's kind of what makes us escape artists.
sure.
Well, I appreciate your time, Luke. It's great to be here at Exosphere. They have about 40 people down there, 30 people down there, all learning, getting reprogrammed, and hopefully being the brightest and the best, and producing and building a future and building new businesses, and wherever they are, whether they stay here, whether they go back to their home country, or try something else. Thanks a lot, Luke. I appreciate it. It's been great to talk to you.
So I say, I'm Luke Crowley, and I'm an escape artist.
And this is Joe Johnson with Escape Artist from beautiful Reñaca, Chile.
Ay, fue permanente emoción.